All right. Hope Zoom land can see what I'm working with now. All right, so let's quickly run through some of the rule. Sometimes it's having a game plan in regards to some of the things that we're talking through today with working with children. What is the role of 4-H in the Extension Master Gardener Working with Youth program? What do I need to know when you start working with youth? What ages does 4-H serve, and what are the best approaches for different age groups around as Extension Master Gardeners? How do we make gardening fun and engaging for youth? I assume that's a big question, right? What safety considerations should I keep in mind? And of course, why do it? What impact does gardening have on youth development? I've already started on some of those questions so far. So what I have right here is something I call a parking lot. Sometimes when I'm in meetings, I have a question, a burning desire to ask that question, but we're rolling, we're trying to get things done. So I just got to remember the question. And by the time I have my hand up and I actually get called on, I say, I forgot. So exactly. So what I've got here for you today is something called Padlet, the parking lot, where you can actually add questions in and review the link. So I don't know, some of us are pretty tech savvy, can know how to scan this code. I see some phones out can scan this code in the bottom corner to have a QR code where you can ask questions as we go along, or just have them so at the end I can review those questions and answer them at the end. So if you have a friend beside you that's got their cell phone, you can just ask them to write this question in for you if you're not too on top of the QRs. Or if you prefer a link, it's that padlet.com, IKEA Morton. And I put that link throughout the slideshow. So you will have an opportunity to add those questions as well. I expect the same thing for Zoom. If you're watching this recording post today, March 6th, then it may not be as useful. So just putting that out there. Those are our resources for today. Are there any questions so far before I get started, before we get into this thing? Very cool. So this is an interactive presentation. I work with youth. So I like, I was told, I got to stand here so the people in Zoom can see me and hear me. So I'm going to have to work with you guys, including my friends all the way in the back. So I keep picking on them. What do you know about 4-H? Anybody raise your hand? Give me just a general glimpse of what you know about 4-H. If you know a lot about 4-H, maybe don't answer. Give me what you think, the one word or something around that area of what you think of when you hear 4-H. Okay. Working with youth, I heard involvement. What else? There's some stereotypes in the area that I really want you to like. What do you, especially here in the James County, Williamsburg area? If I say the word 4-H to you, what do you think of? Okay. Leadership. That's a good one. What else? Camp. Who said it? Oh, I'm about to throw a piece of candy your way. I need to bring some candy next time. Camp, most definitely, is a solid one. I wish I was Steve Harvey. I could get up here and do the Family Feud. Survey says camp, number one answer. What else? Give me number two. Maybe an older stereotype. What you think? Oh, that's cute. Like I said, I don't think that's good. That's a good one, but I don't think many of our like what is it called non-extension related people would know a lot about 4-H and safe living like hearts and hands. That's a good one though. What else? Anybody know? That, all right, number two, agriculture. That's another one. Give me one more. One more I'm looking for. Animals. That's the one I was looking for. Thank you. So we got all three on the board. Most definitely. The stereotypical answer, if somebody in a normal scene, somebody you walk on the street, you say, hey, what's 4-H? They're going to say one of those three things. And it just so happens that we're here in Jamestown County, Williamsburg, where we have the Jamestown 4-H Educational Center so that people can actually make that connection to the camp. Okay. But most people, like I said, would think of agriculture or think of livestock. So let's debunk that a little bit. Although that is a very important part of 4-H, there's more to it. 4-H is actually the largest youth development program in the United States. We have currently on the record around 8 million members, I believe, and we're on the way to 10 million members. We are active in over 80 countries and open to all backgrounds. We are inclusive, we are diverse. The core learning approach for 4-H is that we are hands-on. We are learning by doing, and we are research-based. So everything we do is using research-based, peer-reviewed curriculum, and we focus on leadership, citizenship, and life skill building in youth. The 7 core foundations of 4-H are that we are community-centered. We are volunteer-led, but extension staff supervised. We are research-based through our land-grant universities, that is Virginia Tech and Virginia State University. And then we are home and family oriented, public and privately funded, and responsive to change. Those are the seven core foundations of 4-H. All right. So kind of what was mentioned earlier. Did I fix it? Turn it on. It's off. Is that fixed? Can you see now? Okay, sorry, we're getting things up for Zoom people. Okay, so all right, and kind of what was mentioned earlier, talk about this 4-H pledge. The youth that are involved with my program, the ones that are involved, they give this pledge every day. They say, well, every time I meet with them, they say, I pledge my head to clearer thinking, my heart to greater loyalty, my hands to larger service, and my health to better living. So when we're talking about that in regards to 4-H, these youth that are involved with the program are saying that they are invested in the mental development, the social and emotional development, the physical skill development, and the physical development of themselves in order to become productive members of society long term. All right. I'll get them text. Sorry, make sure. Okay, cool. So this is something more so that I got to spend some time on is our core program areas in 4-H. We focus on STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. That's one big area. We focused on healthy living, so programming regarding how to make sure that you're eating nutritious things and working out and things of that nature. Civic engagement, so leadership, as mentioned, and doing some of the things like going to meet our legislators and advocating for yourself, and agriculture, the connection that makes all the things go around. Agriculture is everything from our clothing, from our food, agriculture is literally everything. All right. And we're developing a new emphasis this year with something called Beyond Ready on our college and our career readiness, as well as mental health. Big issue areas that we are noticing that are coming out of our youth today. So let's just you may not know this, but let me just do a true or false question real quick to keep you guys engaged. What does the white in this 4-H emblem right here stand for? So raise your hand if you believe it is A, brightness. Anybody believe it is A, brightness? All right, what about B, boldness? Anybody believe that the white in the 4-H clover right here is boldness? Raise your hand. All right, what about purity? Anybody, raise your hand if you believe one of the H's is purity. Okay, we've got quite a few hands for purity. And then the last one, life. Raise your hand if you believe it is life. All right, do you want to know the answer? The answer is the white stands for purity. So some of you had that correct. Great job. The white in the 4-H flag, this is the part that you'll have fun with. The white in the 4-H flag does symbolize purity. However, the green in the 4-H logo is nature's most common color, and that is involvement of life and springtime and youth. Okay. So, like I said, just this little trivia, if you will. How do we do 4-H here and across the state and across the nation and so on and so forth? In Virginia, there are three main delivery modes of 4-H programming, and it's through our 4-H clubs, our 4-H enrichment, and our 4-H camping. So here in James City County, like I said, those are the main delivery modes of how I take 4-H, the education from Virginia Tech and Virginia State, and give it to the community. In James City County, like I said, I interact with youth all from the ages of 5 to 19. And some of the things I wanted to point out, the similarities, if you will, we have on our top level, Janet Spencer, who you've met before, many of you met before. She is the acting unit coordinator and district director. So she's my boss, just as well. She's Luke's boss. And then we have our local agents and faculty and staff of the James City County unit. That's Sandra Key, myself, Luke, and then B. Darrow, who represents Family Focus, a program that works with parenting and youth that are age 0 up to 5. So birth all the way up to age 5. Once they turn 5, then they become 4-Hers all the way till they turn 18 or 19. And then after that point, they can become master gardeners. They become 4-H volunteers. They can get into peace. We want them to have lifetime involvement with community service and volunteering. All right. So those are just like our local specials. And we also have Cherie Press and some other family focused staff that follow under the family focused position. So then, like I said, here in James City County, like I said, we have those three areas again, those clubs, those in-school enrichment, and those camps. I have two chartered clubs here in James City County as of last year. Within the past year, we've made sure that we've had these two clubs that are the Making Waves Teen Leadership Club. So focusing on community service and teen leadership and teen development and exposure to 4-H events, not just here in the local unit, but also on the district, state, and national level. I'll be taking, I think, 5 youth to a national conference in DC in just about a week now. So they are from that group. And then we also have the Colonial Writers 4-H Horse Club. So they specialize in English and Western disciplines. They do competitive riding. They do hippology lessons, all types of activities. And I have volunteers that are in charge of those clubs and work with those clubs as well. And I hope to build on that. We're looking at building a homeschoolers club, not a big area that is, I mean, not something that's been touched on quite often, but we're excited to bring that back to James City County, bring that into James City County under the fold, and some other things as we move forward. So that's just on the club end. In-school enrichment programming. So I do day camps and educational pop-up programs. So a teacher may email me and say, hey, I've got, in 3 weeks, I want to work on this specific subject area per our pacing guide with the SOLs. Do you have something? And I say, absolutely. Let me see what we can do. Let me work out some details, ask some questions, and we're good to go. In 2 weeks, I go into classrooms. Or a good example right now, I'm doing something called the embryology project. So embryology is actually me bringing in chicken eggs into the classroom where they're doing life science and learning more about a 21-day process of the egg sitting in an incubator and eventually hatching in a classroom. So it's really cool to actually let them have that opportunity. And so things like that. And then finally, we also have our camp educational mode. So that's not just the 4-H junior camp that happens with the Jamestown 4-H Educational Center. That is a partnership more so. And we are the Jamestown 4-H Center is a host site, if you will, of almost 20 different counties. So what we do here as a delivery mode is I do different day camps working with Parks and Rec. One of the examples I'm going to bring up today is something called our Green Thumb Explorer Camp, and that might have some appeal to the Master Gardener organization and volunteering. So just keep those in mind. This is kind of my org chart, if you will, to get kind of explain that sort of relationship. And we also, one thing I forgot to mention on that org chart is that the youth are also involved with the leadership as officers of these organizations and clubs as well. So it's not just like some adults telling kids what to do. We feature youth adult partnerships. Okay. So why are we talking about 4-H so much when we're here in a master gardening meeting? So it's important to talk about it. Let me clarify why. 4-H serves as the primary youth development organization of the Cooperative Extension Service. So you know that Master Gardeners are part of the extension program, the Virginia Cooperative Extension here in Virginia. And so any programming that happens with youth age 5 all the way up through 18 through Virginia Cooperative Extension is considered 4-H youth development. And this is multifaceted. Think about the name, the street cred, if you will, of 4-H. You have access to not only that support, but the volunteers, the resources, you have all of that access. So you're not alone in the situation when you are working in these schools and trying to develop future programming with you. All right. So the role of a 4-H extension agent compared to an A&R agent is that I am a faculty member who manages the youth component of our local extension work. As you see in this photo, I coordinate that program delivery, whether it be myself going into a classroom or space or a volunteer going into that space, working with youth that are 5 to 18, making sure they are trained, making sure that we have enough, so recruiting them, and making sure that they are well prepared to work with youth, and of course, to do the best to market the 4-H program all over the community to anybody who was interested and all people who deserve to be a part of it. Okay, so that was all just explaining the role of 4-H and EMG working with youth programs. I haven't lost y'all so far, have I? Y'all still with me? All right, good, good, good. I'm going to get a little bit out of order here, probably, but we're going to go ahead and move on to my next part, which is something called ages and stages. We're going to answer the question of, explaining the difference in regards to how we can work with youth and how we can appeal our work to youth. So in 4-H, we refer to the following youth groups based on their ages. We have our Clover Buds, that is age 5 to 8. Our junior age, when you ever hear the term 4-H junior camp, we're not referring to a junior in high school. We're referring to youth that are age 8 to 13. And then we have our intermediate. It's more of a transition in regards to age 11 to 13, but we mainly focus also on our seniors at that point. So they go from junior to senior. Once again, not necessarily seniors in high school, but at some point they do end up actually being seniors in high school, age 14 to 19. All right. So that is our age breakdown. If you hear me ever say the term Clover Bud or juniors or seniors, that's what I'm referring to. Today, I'm going to snatch a little bit from Texas Extension to help explain youth development and help explain how we can appeal our programs to different age groups, specifically focusing on the physical development, the social development, the emotional development, and the intellectual development of these children. So you can take these pieces and apply that directly into the work that you can do in a school or you can do when working with youth. So before I show you, what do you think? Who and or what influences a child's growth and development? Who and or what influences a child's growth and development? There were a lot of people speaking at once. We gotta do a pointing system. Sorry, I want to hear you. I know I heard, for example, parents. Good, keep going. Teachers, good, keep going. Tell me one more time. Experiences, background experiences, good. Anything else? Keep going. Grandparents, coaches. That's a good one. What else? Church. What else? Peers, social media. Good, good, very good. All right, all right. And there's a lot loaded in those. So I'm just going to give you the answer. So we got parents, we got caregivers. That lines into teachers, peers, extended family, the community, media, social media, heredity, and environment. Those are some of the things that influences a child's growth and development. Not all, just a good amount of them circle into those areas. So y'all are on the right track with that. I just wanted to pick your brain a little bit, see where you are. Okay. So when I say we're going to talk about working with 6 to 8 year olds, what are some of the things you think of? What are the attributes, the traits that come out when I say working with 6 to 8 year olds? What do we think about? Go ahead. Curiosity. Very good. She's read the slides before. Go ahead. Energy. Very good. He's read the slides before. Yeah. Okay. Good. 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 What else? Short attention span. That's a good one. Very good. Anybody else? Y'all are hitting them on the mark today. Great. I'm liking this. So, physical characteristics, we say they are actually growing slowly. They are learning to master their physical skills, can control larger muscles like arms and legs better than their smaller muscles. So, that implies that they may be a little bit messy at times, with especially arts and crafts and meals. And it also means that we need to make sure that we're conducting activities that encourage those large muscle use, having them running around, having them doing exercises, jumping jacks, and stuff like that keeps them moving, keeps them active. Social characteristics include that they are learning how to be friends and they may have many friends, may have so many best friends. That's my best friend. That's my best friend. I love them. All right. And then we also have fighting. So they're arguing a little bit more. It doesn't last long in those fights. That's a good thing, but it is a little bit more bickering involved with that age group. And the boys, well, the girls have cooties, and the boys are boys, boys will be boys, that sort of situation. So we have boys will begin to separate from girls in this space. Ew, girls. So all right, so we implied with that small groups encourage social interaction, role playing encourages empathy, and to make sure, even though they're separate, to keep mixing them together, to force them together because they will not want to be around each other, I guess. Those are some of the great things that come out of working with the social characteristics of 6 to 8 year olds. Now, when we look at our emotional characteristics, unintentionally somewhat, but they are self centered. They seek approval from adults, they avoid punishment, so they may lie and they are sensitive to criticism and don't like to fail. So, what can we do as volunteers, as master gardeners, as leaders? We can be positive. We can plan activities that promote success. Good try, great job. And foster cooperation, not competition. So sometimes you think it's a fun idea to like, okay, who can do this first? But we don't know what impact that's going to be having on the second, the child who does it second or afterwards. And so it'd be a more beneficial experience to be able to lift them both together. Cooperation. All right, and one more time, one more, the intellectual characteristics of 6 to 8 year olds. They are concrete thinkers, so they base their thinking in reality, what they know, what they feel, what they touch. They cannot multitask well. They need to be focused on one goal and get through it and get done with it and move on to the next. And they are more interested in doing things, so getting involved in doing it, than the end results. That's kind of coming back to what somebody mentioned, like short-term interest, right? So we plan short activities. We focus on the process, not necessarily the final product, and we allow for exploration. Somebody was curious, was what popped up, and inquiry. So why? Answering that question. If a kid asks you why or why not, then I always like to flip the question back to them and say, well, why do you think? And let them explore that idea a little bit further. All right, I'm gonna grab some water, but let me listen to you guys in regards to what do you think when we talk about the next age group, 9 to 11 year olds. So if we're thinking about 9 to 11 year olds, what are we thinking? Let's talk as a group. Oh, clicks. That's a good one. Okay. Defiance. Okay. Anybody else? One more time. Selective hearing. Okay, gotcha. All right. That's funny. All right. Yes. Uh-huh. Yes, and we'll get to that a little bit further. The response was sometimes they're little, very young developmentally, and some of them are very old developmentally. It's a good part that we're going to mention throughout in the end. All right. So let's just go and move through them. Physical characteristics of 9 to 11-year-olds, they're still moving all the time. They can't sit still. There is a growth spurt beginning of their adolescent stage, and females will mature before males. So that implies that we need to provide active learning experiences and avoid competition still between boys and girls because, as we're mentioning, girls are developing faster, earlier. Guys will start to feel disadvantaged and start to make a big fuss about it. Social characteristics mean they are joining clubs and cliques. Well done. So same-sex groups still, girls still have the cooties, but it's more so like the boys are joining the clubs, if you will. Like so they're coming together, the union, you know. So they don't understand viewpoints of others, but they can make sure I get this covered up. They like to make others happy. There we go. And they like to please adults with successful project completion. Figure out what I can do with this. I can go back. Perfect. All right. So implications with that is that we need to use group learning with same-sex members, okay? Working together, not individually, and encourage older mentors to work with the group. So we'd actually have the adult or the teen in that sense jump in that space and help them organize or stay focused. And then the emotional characteristics of 9 to 11-year-olds, they have a weak sense of individual identity. They work together as a group and they are moody. Justice and equality become important. So you'll hear them say, that's not fair more often. Need to feel in part something important. That's good. And begin to question authority a little bit, but still want the guidance. So that implies that we need to make sure that we're not comparing youth to each other and helping them identify their strengths is important. And then we emphasize progress made from previous performances. All right, and intellectual characteristics of 9 to 11-year-olds. Until 11, they still think concretely, which means it's just got to be black and white, no gray area, and then begin to understand new ideas. They learn to think abstractly a little bit at this point, and more immersed in subjects that interest them. So they find their interest and they want to be more involved with them. All right, and then they want to find their own solutions. I'm going to do it my own way, and I'm going to do it that way. So that implies that us as volunteers and leaders, we need to use short and simple directions and brief learning experiences. We also need to offer a wide range of activities to ensure their success, also so they can find that interest area, so they can find that sense of belonging, that spark, if you will. All right. Now, what do you think of when we talk about the next age group, 12 to 14-year-olds? What do we think about? Snarky girls. But just I'm gonna just say snarky in general. Uh-huh. What else? Independence. I like that. That's a better way of flipping it. So snarky, independence. Very good. Uh-huh. Defiant, back in defiant. Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah. So some of the comments was that they feel a little bit more, they might come off a little bit more withdrawn, and so you have to pull them in a little bit more to keep them interested, keep them involved. Go ahead. They want to be appreciated. Oh, opinionated. They want to be opinionated. Sorry, I had it wrong. Yeah, they want to be opinionated. Anything else? Hormones. Okay, heard that all over the place. Got it. And that is, yeah, that's how the hormones work, all over the place. All right, cool. Anything else? Y'all are doing this. This is awesome. Great. Thank you so much for being engaged. So the physical characteristics of 12 to 14-year-olds. Many are going through physical changes. The boys may still be growing. Boys actually usually meet their maximum height by age 16 and girls by age 14. So that means that they may be willing to answer some questions, but avoid comments that criticize or compare you physically. Did you lose weight? Are you getting taller? Any of those conversations, just cut them out. Not for this age group. Not going to work. They're not going to hear it. All right. Oh, and voice changing. That's a good one. That often pops up around this age group too. Oh, I'm hearing your voice change. Don't talk about it. Don't even bring it up. If their voice cracks, just keep moving. Don't everybody's gonna start laughing. You got to keep it pushing. I'm serious on that one. All right. Social characteristics of a 12 to 14-year-old include looking for activities involving the opposite sex. So now we're finally breaking the stigma of the cooties. We are kind of moving toward each other. All right. They are now starting to look toward their peers more than they were looking from that authority figure. So they're looking toward each other more so. They are still searching for adult role models, if you will, to create fan clubs. So when I go to camp, sometimes, and this is dating me a little bit, not too much, but just when I was working at the camp center as a staff, I was called Mufasa. And so there was the Mufasa fan club because the kids would just go behind me whenever they saw me and chant, Mufasa, Mufasa, in that age group, just because, I don't know, I'm cool like that, guys. I mean, what do you expect? Anyway, so most definitely in that age group, that's where we see the fan clubs. All right. And then they tend to reject solutions from adults in favor of their own. They will do it their own way. Reminds me of the song. I ain't singing today though. All right, implementations. Let them plan their own programs. Let them have autonomy. Let them join in the conversation in regards to what would you like to talk about today, and establish a climate that is conducive to peer support. So more group work, working with each other. All right, and then emphasize personal development. All right. Yeah. Emotional characteristics of a 12 to 14-year-olds. They compare themselves to others more often. They see themselves as always on center stage and have unsettled emotions. The lights are always on them and they don't necessarily know how to handle it. And so they want to be autonomous from their parents and abandon the parental views. So there may be ideas that parents have set in stone saying, this is what you need to do. And the know-it-all 12 to 14-year-olds will say, no, I'm going to do it my own way. They strive to earn independence, yet want and still need parents' help. All right. So when we look at the implications of what we can do at that point, we need to let teens assume responsibility and expect them to follow through. Okay. Expecting them to follow through is an important part of that because we can probably make that choice and say, sure, I'll give them the role of passing the papers out, but I'm going to have my copies prepared or something of that nature. Just trusting them a little bit further. They are that older age group. Help them explore their identity, their values, and their beliefs a little bit further, and help them develop individual skills. It's a really good spot for our master gardeners that are working with youth in this age group. Encourage youth and adults to start a youth-adult partnership by working together. Intellectual characteristics of 12 to 14-year-olds include gaining cognitive and study skills and abstract thinking. We're finally getting to that point where they can think a little bit further outside of the box. They are ready for in-depth, long-term experiences, which means they will go through the process with you and get to the end or whatever that 6-week, 6-month process may end up looking like. And they like to set goals based on their needs. They have moved from the fantasy land and are on realistic focus on their life goals. What do they want to do when it comes to high school? What do they want to do post high school? Some of those conversations are now definitely more abundant. And the implication with that means that we need to give them real life scenarios and problems to solve. We need to let them make the decisions and evaluate the outcomes. We need to encourage service learning and their opportunity to learn more about doing the community service. So not just simply the community service, but actually learning why. And then planning career exploration activities really help with that as well. So y'all are master gardeners, show the benefits and the importance of agriculture and gardening and why that's important and what you can do with that post, graduating from high school, graduating from college. And now we're at our final age group. What do we think about the 15 to 18-year-olds? By the way, this is the group that I would say I probably specialize in out of the four. So if you're having interest in talking about high school age youth and what we can do with them, they are trouble. That's what I'm gonna throw out there in regards to the word that I say when I think of trouble. But nonetheless, but good, most definitely. With that teen leadership club, I could talk about them all day. So anyway, let me let y'all talk about it. What do we think of when we think about 15 to 18-year-old youth? Individualism, independence. I heard something. Sorry, one more time. It's okay, Alexa. There's no wrong answers. Okay, I thought I heard one. Anybody else? 15 to 18-year-olds. Give me one or two more words. Testing the limits. Good one. One more time. One more word. One more word. Focused. Focused on what? Focused on what they want to do in the future. I was hoping you would go there. Great. All right. So the physical characteristics of 15 to 18-year-olds, they are now really concerned about their body image, particularly if we're using social media like Instagram and taking that picture. Are they going to get likes? Are they going to get follows? They exhibit smaller range in size and maturity among peers and tend to have realistic views of limits to which bodies can be tested. So that means that we need to be willing to answer questions. We need to avoid comments that criticize and compare youth and set a good example for health and physical fitness. For social characteristics of 15 to 18-year-olds, they tend to romanticize sexuality, but are moving toward better understandings of reality. They are searching for intimacy and actually test sexual attractiveness. What that basically means, y'all, is that you're going to start seeing the makeup pop out more often. You're going to start seeing the gold chains, stuff like that, when they're and the nice Jordans or fancy shoes when they're working in the garden, you know? So just, I mean that's what it is. So they also make commitments and can actually follow through. So they say they're gonna be there, they'll be there. Might take some reminders nowadays, but still, like I said, they can put something in their calendar and move toward it. They don't need that exact touch or, hey, don't you have something to do from their parents? They can set it in their calendar and move with it. They desire respect and they actually want adult leadership roles. They want to be in charge. They are apt to reject goals set by others. So implication what that means, that we need to let them plan their own programs. We need to establish the climate that is conducive to peer support and emphasize personal development and leadership at this point. For emotional characteristics, we need to make sure that, they need, make sure I'm saying it right, they desire respect and they are accepting their own uniqueness, but they still seek approval from peers at this point. So not just parents saying, oh, it looks just fine, but they're going to probably ask their friend group, if they will, on text to make sure it looks good too. They are developing their own set of values and beliefs at this point, gaining autonomy. They are introspective, and they can initiate and carry out tasks without direct supervision. Still important to supervise them, but this is something that we recognize. So that means we can let the teens assume a little bit of responsibility and expect them to follow through. We can help them explore identity, values, and beliefs, help them develop individual skills, and encourage youth and adults to work together at this point. And as we look at intellectual characteristics, last one, 15 to 18-year-old intellectual characteristics they are mastering abstract thinking. They can imagine impact of their present behavior on their future. So the things they're doing now, they can see what it may end up being if they continue on this route or they do something different. They can make those choices and see what it looks like in the future. They enjoy demonstrating acquired knowledge of things that they've learned. They want to actually show you, yes, this is what I've learned. This is how I've done it. This is the process. But they will lose patience with something that they think of as busy work or meaningless activities. So the implications that we need to give them, once again, real life problems to solve, let them make decisions and evaluate outcomes, encourage service learning, and plan career exploration activities for that age group as well. Practical implications. So just, if you missed all of what I was saying earlier, let's just focus on these last two slides, okay? The first part is that we're going to look at the practical implications for younger children. We need to understand that young children are limited by their developmental capacities. They organize activities. We need to organize activities and events that are age appropriate. We need to encourage active involvement with the younger children rather than competition. It's not the time for tug of war. Build upon their physical, social, and emotional and cognitive skills. Be generous with your praise. Like I said, good job, way to go, those sort of things. And encourage exploration. I already actually told you about that. When they ask a question, respond with, well, why do you think? And then providing clear rules, boundaries, and structure is going to be really helpful when working with younger children. All right. And then when we go into our older children, the adolescents and our teens, we have to encourage that independence so that they don't, end up being dependent on someone. We need to make sure that we're maintaining structure and boundaries and rules, so maintaining them and being sensitive to self-image issues and being open to discussing and handling sensitive issues. We want to foster positive peer interaction. They want to work with their peers, let them do it. And we want to be positive role models, provide constructive criticism along with positive feedback, otherwise known as the sandwich method. Some of y'all heard of the sandwich, right? You say something nice, give some form of critique, finish it off with something nice. That's the sandwich method. Copyright Isaiah Morton. I'm joking. And then promote hands-on activities and experiential learning opportunities. That's my soapbox, if you will, for that. All right. So we actually knocked out quite a few conversations in that. We're going to keep moving forward. I would say I would check the parking lot at this point, but I think I'm going to keep moving for the sake of time. And like I said, just keep pouring into those questions. We'll take a look as we get toward the end. The next big thing we're going to talk about, and I know you're going to spend a lot of time on this yourselves, is risk management. So I'm not going to spend too much time on it. I'm more so going to talk about the important things that pop out to me in regards to working with youth. So risk management in general is the process through which you plan in advance to deal with problems that occur. I know y'all have heard the saying before, if you, make sure I say it right, you plan to fail, you fail to plan. Did I say it right? Did I get it backwards? Oh, wait, y'all know it. Hold on, who said it? Say it again. If you, I said it opposite. I knew I said it wrong. I always mess it up. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Is that correct? Thank y'all so much. Zoom land, y'all heard it the correct way the first time. We're gonna edit this part out. All right, so all right. So risk management is policies and activities we have in order to deal with the possibility that some future event could cause harm. Harm in general is a flexible word. And then protection for our sponsors, our program, you as volunteers, and the participants in those programs, so the youth that are involved with those programs. So I got this cool graphic I found, kind of explaining the 4 different ways that we deal with risk. Okay. So we start with the project that you have, then you can avoid risk, turn around, not today. We can mitigate or reduce the risk, putting the trampoline under there, saying that we're going to reduce to the probability of risk. We are going to transfer the risk. Here, you do it or you deal with it. And anybody got an idea of how we can transfer risk normally today? Rather than being on the individual, what can I do to transfer risk in a program? Anybody know? Geico, State Farm, what sort of things are those? Insurance. So that's definitely some part of make sure that we are transferring. So making sure that we have those things in place and we have our programming to decrease risk. And then there's also another conversation we have about duty of care, but we'll get to that. And then, of course, there's always probably going to be some risk that we are just going to have to accept. We're just going to have to accept in order to do this program and to be able to move forward. I don't encourage you to jump off a cliff, but just saying that risk is acceptable in some cases, but we have to be cautious of what we are willing to accept. Um, as volunteers, especially 4-H volunteers in this sense, work with you there are some requirements for liability insurance coverage. So I talked about insurance earlier. So the Commonwealth of Virginia does provide some form of insurance. You'll talk a little bit further about that in further trainings, I'm sure, but you must be enrolled as a Virginia Cooperative Extension volunteer. And what that means in regards to your enrollment is that you have to have your Sterling background check done. Hello. I know y'all been talking about that quite a bit. Your interview, your references, and be in a VCE approved enrollment database. For me, it's 4-H Online. I have not gotten the answer from the state office if you're enrolled with Better Impact, if that directly correlates over, that's still a enrollment database. So I just need to confirm that to make sure that we're on the same page if you're enrolled in Better Impact. But a good way to just check the box to make sure you're safe is that if you're working with youth, contact me so I can get you enrolled in 4-H Online, and then you're 100% good to go one way or another. It's a quick process. And then the activities, especially when you're working with youth, must go through me. I'm telling you, like I said, I spoke about earlier, this street cred, this clout that 4-H has. Put that 4-H clover on that advertisement. But you got to talk to me first. I am the keeper of the clover in the county. That's what that no, quite literally. It's legal. That's a legal term. Y'all are joking. Like it's in the paperwork somewhere at a national or USDA or NIFA office that says the county extension agent is the local keeper of the clover. Cool, right? Anyway, so like I said, I can designate and say, hey, yeah, you can put that 4-H clover somewhere. And like I said, when schools and community organizations that I work with see the clover, it kind of just gives you an extra boost. So just throwing out there, they already like the name extension, but we all know, just being honest, that extension is a best kept secret. 4-H, like I said, we're talking about 10 million members and in a community where we know can't. So it might be more helpful. Criminal actions and intentional misconduct are not covered under this insurance. And so we need to make sure that we are following those risk management steps that I'm sure you've talked about before, and making sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do and doing the best we can do in a situation. That's also part of risk management. It's not just simply, like I said, following the rules, but like if there is a situation that occurs, you have to be a good Samaritan in that situation and do the best you can. So from a youth perspective, make sure you're evaluating the risk and planning for the best and the worst. And so I'll let this slide sit on the screen for a sec, but the biggest thing is, like I said, just having that conversation with yourself and with your planning team, the people that you're implementing it with, to be able to write down specifically the conversation of what you need to do when you're working with youth. So as we move forward, like I said, the intent is not just talking about it and say, yeah, this is what we'll do, but having it written down. So if somebody asks, you have how would I say this kindly, a cover your butt type situation. That's what I'm gonna go with. Use common sense, be reasonable, prudent, and prepared. If you hear warning bells and you see red flags, or you have a funny feeling about some activity, don't do it. So no fireworks, no hot air balloons and stuff like that. It may sound cool, But if you can feel it inside of you or something about this doesn't seem right, no, please don't. Check in with somebody, check in with the agent to make sure that you're on the right path. In the event of an incident, what I want you guys to do is know that the agents have an accident and incident report form that we have to do documentation for. So the intention is that you call the extension office as soon as possible with facts and information, not your opinions, but just straight up, this is what happened, this is the results, this is what we have to do to take care of it. We'll get that form submitted for you to make sure. And this is for big injuries. This is for the serious stuff and the personal injuries, but not necessarily for the band-aids, okay? Not necessarily for scrapes and bruises, but things, especially if there's a hospital or urgent care visit involved, or if there's some sort of stitches needed or something like that in a situation, okay? So not the first aid kit, but anything that escalates above that. I would rather take a call that I say, I don't have to do an incident report for than, you know, miss a call that I should have put an incident report in for. So just call us, let us know. And in the event of serious multiple injuries, fatalities, or incidents that involve police or some form of law enforcement, or incidents that may result in litigation, you need to follow the VCE emergency procedures cards guideline. How many people have ever seen, oh, that's not the right slide, this one of these emergency cards before? Lovely. Love to see so many hands in the room. So you need to make sure that you have an emergency card. And the first step on that emergency card is to care for the injured first and stabilize the situation or call 911, the authorities as appropriate. That is the first thing. So does that mean you need to call Luke and I first? No. I would prefer you get the situation taken care of so that we can help and assist you, but call 911 and call the emergency services. I'm only first aid certified. I can only do so much. So I got to make sure, like I said, that you're doing the things right first by calling 911 or calling some form of appropriate authorities in that situation before you reach out to an agent. I'm gonna go back and slide and just say, oh yeah, so this is just a clarifying. This is also my office number. So no offense, Luke, but like I said, I am the agent for James City County. So I'm in my office Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, somewhere around that area, but I'm in my one office. Luke has the cover too. So for my sake, like I said, you only have to remember this one number, and it's actually just one digit different than Sandra's and Luke's and Master Gardener Help Desk. All of ours are around that same area. So I'm the 9 number. So 2179 is the 4-H office. So if you're working with youth and you're in a school, that office number, like I said, is direct line. It's not a, call Sandra and then forward situation. It's my direct phone number. Okay. Um, there's also my email that'll be at the end of the slide. And honestly, I know that Luke, like I said, has mentioned this the same way because he works in the 2 offices. Email is a great way to just say, hey, I need to talk to you real quick. Are you available? If you don't get my office number, if like I said, you call the office number and I'm not there or mine goes directly to voicemail, email me because the email comes straight to my cell phone and I can read that email and then give you my cell phone number. I do have a work cell phone number that I can, have that conversation with you and try to work out things after you've called 911 or taken care of the situation. So that's the plan. Okay. Make sure I got everything in that area. I'm going to skip the slides, but just recognize that your Master Gardener handbook provides policies to guide your activities. The extension agents are here to kind of cover the gray areas and kind of be your voice to state offices and state officials to get clarification on things. There's plenty of documentation stuff. Once again, probably going to push that off to a further risk management conversation. Just recognize that when you are doing programming, reports, documentation, health history forms, code of conduct, all those things can make sure they protect you. There are forms that are in place to make sure that they are protecting you. And like I said, something I probably skipped over was this idea of duty of care. One thing like I said, I would put number 1 on my priority list for master gardeners working with youth. You cannot or cannot be in a situation where you are the only supervisor out there. You need to have the teacher. You need to have the administrator. You need to have whatever faculty member. You need to have a VCE faculty member. You need to have somebody who is in that position that is trained or is willing to accept the duty of care. In loco parentis is the legal term, in place of parents. So we need to make sure that if the teacher is one off, I'm gonna be right back on the bathroom. No, unfortunately, the rules say that somebody needs to be out here because if you're out there at a school and something happens to a child, do you have the information to figure out their allergies on hand? Do you have information in regards to calling their parents on hand? No, more than likely you don't. what a teacher does. A 4-H agent would have a health history and a code of conduct form signed and can pull that emergency paperwork out if they're in one of my 4-H programs. So we got to treat it the same way. You as volunteers are protected if you make sure and not help. You will not be held liable if you follow that step. But if you are by yourself in a situation with youth and something happens, you will be held liable if anything is wrong, and we don't want that. Okay. And one of the bigger policies also is important. Like my number 2 policy would be the rule of 3, the above suspicion policy. So the idea with this is you should not be putting yourself in a position where you are in a one-on-one situation with youth. This is hard. Sometimes it's really beneficial. Stay right here. Sometimes it's really beneficial for me to get on one knee and look at you and have a one-on-one conversation to get you to calm down or get you to refocus, something like that. Is that appropriate for volunteers working with youth to have a one-on-one conversation? No, just in general. I'm sorry. So here's the ways to get around that. We're gonna work. We're gonna give you some suggestions in regards to how to address that. So we're gonna avoid because let me explain why. The biggest thing is if you're in a one-on-one situation, nobody else is around, and if that kid turns around and accuses you of abuse or accuses you of being rude or not following the rules or something like that, it's hearsay. It's just your voice versus their voice. So we should be making sure that there should be at least 2 adults present when we are in those situations to avoid being on a one-on-one. We need to make sure that we are anticipating scenarios to avoid these type of problems. So here are the solutions I offer to 4-H volunteers. What are some of the ways that we can make sure if I was having a one-on conversation with Mr. Dave here, what are some of the things I can do to avoid this one-on-one, or what are some steps I can add in to make it not a one-on-one? If Davis and I are one-on-one right here, what are the things I can do? What else can be added in? Okay, another person. So I'm having a one-on-one. Luke can just be an earshot away somewhere nearby so that he can supervise the situation, but not part of the conversation. So a lot of times when I'm at 4-H camp and I need to address a behavior issue, I'll grab another adult and just say, "Hey, just come with me real quick. Just let me tag along with this. Don't say nothing. Just walk with me." Okay. What else? Give me another example of how we can avoid one-on-ones. How we can do something different to add into that. Who said it? What was that? I thought I heard it. Okay. Teacher calling an adult. But what else? Okay. Okay. Phone, not bad. Give me a little bit more. Some of us have iPhones and they have what on their phone? The camera, FaceTime. So that's 100% something that you can do. Okay. I would say that's like my alternative plan because they're not physically in the space, but it is very helpful. I've had to literally drive kids home and put my phone in a place where I can FaceTime a coworker because I'm one-on-one with a kid and they're in the Uber seat, I would call it, the back right seat. But it's a one-on-one situation where I'm driving them home. It's unavoidable. Something I can do to protect myself is to FaceTime a coworker so they can hear and see what's happening in the situation. So if you have any form of video call or something like that on your phone, might be useful just as a tool. Video calling. Fair enough, right? But like I said, it, I'm not saying hold the phone. I said put it, like I said, yeah, I said like I put it in my cup holder, something like that. I'm not holding the phone. Sorry, let me clarify. And like I said, that is an alternative to avoid the possibility of abuse. It's something that, but you said obviously the priority is to have somebody in the space that can at least just be around. And I feel like there's one word I'm missing that I got to think about for a sec. What's another way? Being outdoors, being in an open space, just in general, like I said, and like I said, people can supervise and still see what's happening in the space if you're open in an open space versus a closed small room. If you're taking them into a small room or taking them into a bathroom or something like that, that doesn't work. So being in open space, that's the other one that really helps. Okay. So very important rule of 3, above suspicion, stay away from being in one-on-one situations to avoid accusations. Some quick other policies. Youth for 4-H here in James City County is 5 to 18. So if you have a youth member that pops up that is under the age of 5, they cannot be covered under the liability insurance. They cannot be a part of 4-H and cannot be enrolled. So they should not be there. And so a parent comes and says, "Oh, I'm just coming to watch my kid," or something like that. Just really reiterate to them that this is not the something I can just have that conversation, let them know like, hey, this is not something that they're covered for This is, for 5 to 18-year-olds or something like that, Please don't go and find a curriculum or some sort of activity off of Pinterest without my knowledge. I would rather you use a research-based curriculum that is approved and age appropriate for 4-H from the large catalog that is Extension, not just 4-H, but just Extension curriculums as well. Obviously, like I said, most of those youth curriculums from across the country are going to have 4-H's name on it. There's a media release that you may need to have accepted by any youth that you're taking pictures of and posting on websites or in newsletters and stuff like that. So we need to make sure that we're getting a media release signed. Sometimes, I've taken printed out forms, or if you're doing 4-H online, they have a automatic media release that they can say yes or no to. If you have questions about if a kid has gotten a media release approved or not, if they're willing to take a photo, let me know. I can help you figure that out. Please make sure that you're setting a good example for youth at all times in language and actions. So we're not disciplining youth. We are not cursing at youth. We are, being model. We're following good behaviors, standards of adults' behavior. Use of alcohol or drugs during extension activities is prohibited for volunteers and participants. So, we're not, having a little, what is it, a paint and sip activity, probably not best. And no physical or emotional disciplinary measures may be used with youth and extension programs. So those are some of the quick ones that I just want to make sure that you're aware of. And the final big one I want to talk about is child abuse. So we as volunteers and definitely as agents are mandatory reporters. And by law, anyone who works with children and suspects abuse or neglect has a legal responsibility to report that. So can I just quickly get what do y'all think about signs of abuse? If there was a child here and we were concerned about abuse, what kind of things would we see? Bruises, that's a good one. What else? Altered behavior. I never get that one first. I always have to pull that one out. Very good. So what we mean by altered behavior is if they are very positive, very happy, normally every time you experience them, they're just joyful. And the next day they have 180, like something is completely different, shut down, withdrawn. I have concern. What else? What about if an adult comes to their space and they shelter, they get frightened. So a power imbalance, yes, very much. So yeah, that's something that we have to be concerned about too. If all of a sudden you've been working with a youth, you've been working with a child, and all of a sudden they are frightened every time you come into their airspace, that makes me nervous too. That something's happening that we're not seeing. Okay, so pretty good. Bruises, things of that nature that are physical that we see, as well as some of their behavioral reactions, or some of reasons to be concerned, and just have a little bit further conversation. And then, like I said, of course, go through the process of letting an agent know within 24 hours. This process has to happen fast. Okay. Oh, I knew I was going to do that. How long do we have to report suspicion of child abuse? I knew I was going to do it. I told myself I was going to do it. 24 hours, most definitely. All right. Y'all still with me, right? We're almost done. Still good? All right, cool. We knocked out quite a bit within that section, so thank y'all. How do we make gardening for fun and engaging for you? So here's some of my ideas, some of my toolbox I can share with you. You need to do your best to incorporate games, storytelling. If you look at the reading literacy levels here in James City County, yes, storytelling and talking them through and giving them the opportunity to think through questions. So ask them questions or give them a chance to even read is going to be very useful. And in some cases, competitions like seeing the biggest sunflower come up. Use interactive experiments like testing different soil types or watering methods. So if you're I actually saw this in the science fair not too long ago. What kind of water really benefited, or how much water, if you will, really benefited each plant. So those sort of activities really can be helpful. Connecting gardening to their other interests like cooking, art, and technology. So I don't know how many of y'all are really into like preserves or like taking the things you're making and making them into salsa or some sort of food. Keep me posting those sort of things so I can help you. And allow you to take ownership by planning and planting and harvesting their projects. Okay. So that is, like I said, number one in regards to how we can make it engaging. Now, how can I handle challenges like short attention spans or lack of engagement? Um, I am not a mental health disorder expert, but what happens is when I see a health history come form, and when I see a health history form come to me, and I read on and I see something I don't know, I look into it. I try to figure out a little bit more, and I talk to parents and people who work with them, caretakers, on how to best approach that individual and appeal my work to them. Okay. So that's something that's not on the slide, but most definitely is something that you can do to take an extra step and figure out. Google is right there. Reading is fundamental. Keep activities short and sweet and interactive and varied. So not just doing the same activity every single time, switching your activity up keeps the pace moving every single time you come into those spaces to work with those youth. Once again, using storytelling and using movement and hands-on activities. Let youth have a say in what they want to learn and do, and rotate leadership roles to keep older youth engaged. And then there's also, I was, just want to do a plug here because we've talked about curriculum. There is the JMG program, the Junior Master Gardener curriculum. I actually have a couple copies of, I don't know if they're older, but I need to review them a little bit further to figure out. But I do have copies, and I'm willing to order more copies through the 4-H budget for all I care to make sure that we have more curriculum available for the Junior Master Gardeners. This is direct programming that has been tried and true. It's peer reviewed that can help you with your work with youth. Okay, so they're all hands-on activities. They follow the extension programming model, all things taken care of. It works well, tried and true. And now we're at toward the end. Where do we go from here? We've had all these conversations. We've had quite a bit of fun this morning. Now we're going to talk through some business. So partner up. Education hands-on learning support is the first part of the partnership between 4-H and Master Gardeners as part of our extension program here. So the first thing I need you to do after we're done here is share your expertise in gardening, agriculture, and environmental science. So some new ideas to bring to the space that are part of working with children, because like you said, we've got the ways we're doing it so far, but how can we move it forward is by leading hands-on workshops on topics like soil health and composting and plant care and pollinators, the things that you guys are interested in. You'd be surprised if we can market it to make youth really involved with wanting to do that process as well. Through some of the research-based work that me and Luke do in regards to finding the needs in our community, you'll recognize that one of the number one needs coming from county supervisors and leadership is saying that we want to make sure that we are protecting the rural environment of James City County. So the work that we're doing is particularly even in 4-H with the agriculture side of it, is making sure that we're giving that opportunity to, boost that and to protect the rural environment, just literally that. I also would like you guys to serve as mentors for 4-H gardening programs, just like you saw on my first slide about me working in Blueberry Gap Farm and Bluebird Gap Farm in Hampton. So you guys can be mentors and working with the youth in gardening projects and clubs and our camps. You can help integrate gardening and sustainability lessons into my school-based 4-H programs. So when I go into a science classroom and they say, hey, we want to figure stuff out about working with plants, I'm calling you all up. And you can provide youth-friendly demonstrations at the 4-H event. So if you ever see a program come up on my 4-H calendar and you want to have a little bit more involvement in it, please come through. Let's talk about ways to partner up. Now, the second half of that, like I said, there's the active involvement. Here's another half. It's more so on community engagement and program development. You can help strengthen 4-H impact by collaborating on community projects and expanding outreach. And how we do that is by helping establish and maintain 4-H school and community gardens. So we already have 3 of them. Let's work on building more. Why not? VSU has already offered some support in regards to helping us build the in-school gardening program up, willing to even deliver support in regards to the literal things, the building itself of the project. So they want to build it and they want the school to figure out how to maintain it. That's kind of what VSU has already brought into the space. Partnering on service learning projects such as growing food for local food banks. I have a partnership that I'm working currently with Grove Christian Outreach Center, and we've started that in regards to the youth, doing more community service with them. And so that would be a really great opportunity. Supporting 4-H-led environmental initiatives. So our day camps, like I mentioned, we have a Green Thumb Explorer camp that is focused directly around the concept of agriculture. So that would be a great space that if some of y'all are interested in getting involved with, Luke is already involved, but you can connect with either of us to talk further about ways that Master Gardeners can get into that space and working with youth. And also cleanups. So if we're looking to do a cleanup around James City County, it would be great if the Master Gardeners and our 4-H youth could be involved together to make that happen. And then we can work together in regards to assisting and securing resources, grants, or materials for youth gardening programs, and then assist and share funding opportunities with 4-H. So the truth of the matter is, like I said, I heard from, I think it was Janet who I was talking to, said, hey, the Master Gardeners, by the way, used to actually give money to 4-H to help kids go to camp and do some of the opportunities that we have. So I don't know if I gotta get on my knees and beg here, but like, I provide programs for youth, and that might be something that I would be looking to see as part of that partnership come out as well. I help you guys in regards to give you curriculum, resources, stuff like that. Help me deliver more 4-H opportunities to this county as well. This is our 4-H social media. We have a Facebook and Instagram page, and I encourage you to get in connected with our social media if you have a Facebook or Instagram, because that's where I can post a lot of our information, and that's how I get my information out to the public. So if you haven't already, please add us on that social media page. And I post pictures of the kids that I'm working with all the time, and the programs that are happening. And I just like, so the outpouring of support that I've gotten just from people seeing their kid on Facebook has really been nice. And so I'm trying to make sure that I keep that going. And so I'll finish up here. This quote that I found: 100 years from now, it will not matter what my bank account was, how big my house was, or what kind of car I drove, but the world may be a little better because I was important in the life of a child. The difference between involvement and commitment is like an eggs and ham breakfast. The chicken was involved, the pig was committed. You guys decide involvement or commitment. And now we're going to move on to questions. So thank you. But like I said, let me go through those questions on the Padlet real quick, and then we'll be able to move forward because I know y'all have another rest of your schedule to get to. So let me pull that up. Somebody better pick that up. I'm joking. All right, cool. So let's see what we got going on here. No questions? Okay, go ahead. Tell me. Hmm. I'm going to start by saying that I have never done that before. So, like, it's not been a situation that I've been exposed to enough to be able to give the best answer to that. And that's a good thing, I would hope, right? Like I said, not having to go through the experience of somebody experiencing child abuse. But what I would say is we would go through it together, and I would recognize that there would definitely be no, what's the word for it, retaliation, or there would be a sense of an anonymity to it, definitely. So we'd have to work through that. Like I said, it's not something that I've directly experienced in my 10 years of 4-H experience before. That's not something we do here. Point blank period. All right, sorry, that's on the other hand.
How nice picture of the average typical child in the center. How is 4-H integrating special needs children into the program?
Very good.
Like for example, this is autism spectrum, maybe the intellectually gifted. Are they or segregated?
So the question was, I forgot that since we have Zoom room, I probably should repeat these questions back so they can hear them as well. The question was basically, how does 4-H work with youth that have disabilities? Is that basically, if I summarize that up, special needs, apologies. Yep. So integrated. The answer is, like I said, not the, or 4-H and Virginia Cooperative Extension programs in general. So even the Master Gardens, we follow the same concept. Anybody who walks through the door and says they are in that age group, 5 to 18, and they want to be involved, they are welcome to join us. Like I said, I take a look at those health history forms and do my best to accommodate. We also have other accommodation measures that we can take, everything from language to talking through, best practices with our specialists that are at Virginia Tech and Virginia State to make sure that we're very appropriately handling the situation and working with those youth so they can still be successful regardless of what they come from. So integrated is the answer. Any other questions? Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm. Yes. The question was for Zoom. Sorry, I'm going to cut you over. I apologize. So the question for Zoom is just, How much prep time do I get? If somebody wanted to start specifically something like an in-school gardening project, it's another school. Is that pretty summary of it? Okay. Um, my answer would be it depends. And the answer more so is debated on like what is going on the state level, what is going on in the 4-H world. There are different professional development opportunities I go to. I just told you I'm taking kids to DC. My schedule is currently kind of like slammed up through April right now. So, and as I get more connections in the school and stuff like that, it may end up being like I said 2 months. But right now, like I said, I know for my month of March, I'm booked. Like I said, it's pretty stacked up. So it would just more so depend on, what space I can fill to, deliver as much programming as possible. So just contact me either way. I still think, like I said, if you were talking specifically about something we're trying to do this year, I still think there is some space for it to be able to pull that off in the near future, and even try to make time around some of the stuff that I have. Because, like I said, the intention is that extension supervised but volunteer led. If you got the motivation to make something happen, I will support you 100%. I will show up. I will come up through weekends. Y'all know we only work here Monday through Friday, but I've been here multiple Sundays this month alone. Well, this is short month. Last month alone, So yeah, I'm here for you. Any other questions? Did you find it useful? Yes. Oh, thank you about that. Thank you. All right. Well, you all know where to find me, I hope. All right. And I'll pass it back over to your leadership. Thank you so much.
I have a team of very technology-minded individuals that support me in trying to make the business portion of our meeting, interesting and informative and entertaining. And we're going to cut back on some of the items that we have in our agenda just to try to bring the plane in on time, or more closely on time. So we're going to abbreviate the agenda. But we'll get started. It's sort of like we pack our agenda trying to make it as enriching as we can, sort of like the same way we put how we pack our gardens with plants. As master gardeners, we can't help ourselves. We're just anyway. So let's move it along. Approval of the minutes. The minutes have been distributed. Oh, I got to push a button. Got it. Okay. Okay. Oh, there we go. Approval of the minutes. Everybody's received the minutes. I received no comments. Do I have a motion to approve? Second? All right. Very good. Any other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Thank you. Linda? Linda does a great job.
You'll notice in the agenda minutes that went out that we have a new format for our treasurer's report. The previous treasurer's report was really just a bank reconciliation to let you know what checks came in and what checks were written. What we're trying to do now is focus mostly on the projects that y'all are involved in. I went back to January and refigured. It's really a cash flow of what projects were worked on, what were expensed, and what donations had come in. I'm trying to identify the budget that was proposed for 2025 and finalized. The month to date, which was January, the year to date, which for January, of course, would be the same, and the year to date balance of what's left in the budget. And of course, this will be a growing cash flow as the year goes through. So this is January, and where's the? Oops, nope. We're Oh, she only put up one.
And there's the other one.
Okay, didn't do February. Okay, all right.
Yes, it's
Okay, so she didn't put February. Okay, all right. Anyway, so if this were February, it would show the February month's date, and it would be accumulated in the year to date. Does anybody have any questions? Yes. Oh, stewardship funds. The stewardship funds are restricted funds that they're like grants that are applied or given to different projects. That we have about 6 or 7 projects that are carrying some stewardship funds. Like Maddie's Garden has a stewardship fund. The Brickyard is a new one. Pollinator Garden has a fund. Don't know whether Blatant Garden does or not, but
It's not annual donations for specific purposes.
When like Layton got their grant, that it went into.
that's correct. And most of the stewardship funds they're restricted based upon those are sort of set aside and used for certain things. It depends on the donor if they requested that something be allocated toward a particular project. Designated. That's the word.
So the board still looks at all the detailed finances, trying to make these reports that you see every month more relevant to what you're doing. So they're more project focused, showing expenses as they're occurring in each of the projects. So we understand who's doing what, how much money's left, and things like that.
Yeah. So as each project is expensed, you can see it each month and you can see how much money you've got left in your budget. So no surprises at the end of the year or in the middle of the year if you've run out of money.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
So next month we'll have February and March. Okay, okay, we just don't have it on the slide here. But we'll just handle January. We just want a motion to accept.
The project incentives fund.
We've created a line item and just put some money in it for right now. So that if projects have an opportunity to do something that perhaps wasn't envisioned at the beginning of the year that will require more funds, we have money that's set aside. So you don't have to feel like as project leaders, you're coming in and scratching and clawing. We put money aside. Actually, we can put more money in that if we needed to put more money in. We just wanted to get it started so you don't feel like you got to come and scratch and claw for money. There is money there to help you enrich what you're doing. So can I have just
An important thing is a couple of years ago, we started a capital reserve, and we used a very conservative calculation, and we assigned 6 months of money to set aside for any emergency. Like I said, it was very conservative, and in the board meeting last month, we determined that we would move some money into this savings account and allocate it to the capital fund. And we're going to do a full project expense, which wound up being $27,000 has been moved into the capital reserve we moved money from the bank account into the savings account. And so the savings account is now sitting at 29,000, of which 27,000 we've reserved for capital reserves. So we're not doing a calculation. We're just putting that money into the capital reserves because in 2020 we had, of course, the pandemic, and then we didn't have a plant sale, and we were pretty short in 2020, and that's why we had to do an assessment of all our members so that to make up the shortfall. So we're trying to set that money aside in case of any other emergencies.
Okay. So we've moved that money out of a non-interest bearing checking account into an interest bearing money market so that as it sits there in the event we don't have a plant sale, we can continue operations. Yes, Connie. Okay. We can send those out every month, but not present them in this format. I just thought it was so much information there that people just found it somewhat meaningless. And that I should also, did you want something else to say? Something else that we're doing as a result of the survey last year, Gary Griffith has a committee set up of project leaders that step forward, and we're going to use some of that reserve money to purchase tents and tablecloths and other things that we need for our public facing projects that we do. So we have project leaders involved in making, and they'll be making a recommendation to the board. And I'm anticipating we're going to be able to act on that this month and have that stuff ready for all project leaders to use for any public facing events that you might be scheduling. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Do we move for acceptance of the treasurer's report? Second. I'm not getting any names. Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Thank you. Dot, membership.
I know most of you are probably very tired of getting emails from me. But at this point, and please recognize that VCE has been asking for more compliance this year than they have in recent past, and are checking up on it. And again, it is a question of liability, as Isaiah indicated to us towards the end of his lecture. So at this point, I think we have approximately 166 regular members who have more or less completed their credentials. Some people still have one or both the videos, civil rights as well as risk management to watch. 8 have background checks that are in the works, so they're part of that 166. 10 members have to update their credentials and cannot volunteer for projects without doing so. Most of those are background checks that are needed. Some people don't have their birthdays in their profile, so as a result, background checks don't work. Some need also to update their qualifications. We have 44 emeriti, some of whom are still volunteering and therefore needing to get their credentials up also. So as far as I can tell right now, we have approximately 210 members. We've lost a few people, some in protest because of VCE, some who have not been happy with the projects they've been working on. Some have moved, and some have chosen to be master gardeners associated with VCE, but not members of our Master Gardener Association. I hope to finish the roster soon. I'm getting that. I'm getting there. If you need help with better impact, please questions about membership, please contact me. I still have pins and certificates. Please, if you earned your volunteer hours in 2023, I have certificates and pins for you. Those who earned volunteer hours in 2024, those pins and certificates won't come out until after Master Gardener College in June.
Okay, moving right along. Feel so rushed this time. Opportunity calendar. you're looking for hours, you're looking for new opportunity, new project to work on, I encourage you to go in and to better impact and look at the opportunity calendar. We intend to present this every month so that you can see there's lots going on all different days of the week, different times of the day. Don't miss out on an opportunity for your own enrichment to do master gardening, perhaps in a way that you hadn't done before. I just want to read something. We got my good friend Jeff Mellinger's in Ohio, and a text saying he can't hear me, so I got to stand right at the microphone. Sorry, Jeff. Can you hear me now? So we received Jeff said yes, good. We just finished up pruning clinic. I think we had 43, Wendy? 44? Okay, so we haven't quite finished, but we're almost finished. Okay. I just wanted to read, this is one of the reasons why we do. We got one of the team leaders received this email in response to a pruning clinic visit that says, I am so, and the so is spelled SOOO, grateful for you and your team to have made a visit to assist me with my often overwhelming pruning tasks. I have purchased a crossover pruner, bypass, and sharpener, and made a list of y'all's recommendations for my specific plants and have begun my search for permatil and an ISA credentialed arborist. I find it an almost unbelievably helpful service you provide to homeowners in the community. Why everyone capitalized, does not take advantage of this is beyond me. I hope I have not personally misused your offers. My donation to the organization is on the way. So anyway, so lots of good work being done. And it's nice when we get recognition like that. We're going to skip over a couple things. I do want to point out the newsletter. Marion and her team, I mean, they just create a beautiful newsletter. There's always news in there that you can use. There's a feature article on the Learning Garden project that Bill Dichtel wrote. Judy Kinchell-Ellis has done an article on building rain barrels. And we have another very interesting article on companion plants, which I know was one of the things that came up in the survey, of using alliums and ginger and herbs, intermixing those with plants that deer and rabbits are attracted to, using those plants, the odor and the scent and the taste that they produce as a way to repel deer and rabbits from getting to the things that you're trying to grow, that you're trying to keep them away from. So there's good stuff in there. Always great pictures, wonderful photography. So I encourage you to routinely take a look at it. I know Marion sends it out as an email so that it's easy to link to and get to. Very much appreciated the good work that team is doing. Yes, it is. Oh, that's right. I'm skipping over that. There it is. What is that on the cover? You all should know that, right? And don't they look beautiful this time of the year? Gary? Gary's going to say a few words, right, Gary? Because we're pressed for time.
Let me present the president of our association a minimum number of pots that he needs to fill before the plant sale. Okay, now already we've delivered an amount of 160 to one of our pioneer members of the association, Jim Presley, who's always our top donator for the since 1988. He's been a master gardener with our unit. Well, I want to thank him and his wife, Nelda. A few things. We are now in plant acquisition, and Karen Pfeiffer, if you would stand, she's in charge of plant acquisition. We have still some slots available for you to foster or adopt plants that we are buying from Homestead Garden Center. We will provide the plants and the pots and the holders. All we're asking of you is to transplant them in some nice, good soil and bring them back on the 9th of May to the Williamsburg Botanical Garden for setup. And Ann Hunt will put them first. Lori Leeper is going to check them out, see if they're good to go. Once they are, Ann Hunt's going to put them in the right place. So you see the team is all here and already working. Got pots here. We've got pots at the doorway. I've got my car filled, which is right at the door, and Karen has some as well. So we will have the pots available here now and as well at the next monthly meeting. If you need pots, contact either Karen or myself, and we can go to Maddie's Garden together and give you anything you want. Or if you have 100 or more, we might even deliver them to you with that. The labels we've got available here. The instructions have been sent out to everyone already. If you don't have them or can't remember receiving that email, just drop us a quick line and we'll resend it to you. It's easier to do the labeling as you're doing the growing rather than trying to guess what they are once they pop up. Prices of the pots available. Okay, Peggy Crop, one of our longtime master gardeners as well, has offered her property for a dig. If anyone is interested in digging up some magnolia trees, loblollies, hollies, please let me know. We can arrange something. And as well, Mary DeSalvo, over here somewhere, has offered several things in her yard. If you're interested, let me know. We're not doing a big organized thing like we did a couple of years ago. That was really a logistical issue over and above. People are asking about a wish list. What plants do you want me to grow? Okay, the ones that we've purchased obviously are good sellers, but just as you're deciding what you want to grow, the things in your yard, if you like them, if they're healthy, the public will probably as well. So take what you've got from your yard, but we can always use pollinators and natives, bee balm, milkweed, goldenrod, anything that will attract the pollinators. And as well, herbs. Last year we had a paucity of decent sized herbs, and as well vegetables, shade perennials, going into the hostas, particularly the Lenten rose, particularly ferns. These are the things that sell well that we can always use plenty of. Colorful annuals. If you wanted to do a hanging pot of annuals, we've got the pots available to do that. We are having our next team meeting on the 13th at Veterans Park Conference Room, not Freedom Park, but Veterans Park Conference Room. If any of you, everyone's welcome. If any of you want to help the team leaders during the planning process and their execution, this is a good time to come in and get a big picture of what's going on. Tom Reel, who is in charge this year of the Green Thumb Market, has developed a very aggressive collection opportunity for each one of them. Two of the project leaders have been contacted, and drop-off points are going to be established within your projects rather than having to go to the storage building or bringing them here. So check with your project leaders, and Tom has sent a lot of information to them as well. If you have any questions, problems, or comments about Green Thumb, Tom Reel is your guy. Any questions, problems, comments? Mary Sipe.
Good.
Yeah, and we're going to have a little instruction sheet when you pick up the plants. The pots that we're going to give you need to be cleaned. They need to be sanitized. We aren't going to pass on nasty stuff to our clients, our customers. Good potting soil, please. And then the starter plants will have tags, other digs, propagation with the others. Any other further questions? Uh,
Okay, so plant label instructions will be posted on Better Impact and in the next month's newsletter. Okay,
We do not bring to our plant sale list of invasives or other nasty.
and there'll be a list of things not to bring, like invasives.
Sign up for certain plants right up here.
Gary's holding up the sign-up list.
Okay. That's as short as I can get.
Thank you, Gary. Tom, did you have a question?
Just having an early bird drop off, I had to be outside for it afterwards, and somebody could. The whole logistics of what I'm trying to do this year will probably be in communication around St. Patrick's Day when the weather warms up a bit. That's to when you can know the hours and what have you. So trying to spread out the opportunities to drop off so we don't have a bottleneck.
Okay.
Location so you can visit in public fees. And then it's going to be involved in some artisan type things. Sort of be some pathway for that. And once you have the communication next week, if you want, or the week after, and you're going to do some arts, crafts or something, that's going to be handled on a different approach. And I'll just work it out with people who are interested in doing that. And if you're shy about doing that with the big sellers and some of the stuff that's selling in the shops for like even garden markers or like so overpriced, so if you can even do liberty on compressors, you can sell.
Okay. All right, so there'll be an early bird drop-off schedule that will be announced around St. Patrick's Day. And yeah, right.
We go for me,
Okay, great. All right, thank you. Thank you, Gary. Thank you once again.
Yeah, we're gonna pick up the plants from Homestead next Thursday, and this week I will send those to sign up to take some of the starter plants. I'll be sending you an email. They're gonna be distributed to different homes. All I want to do is we're gonna try to get close to where you live. So you're gonna put your plants up front if you are struggling to pick them up. And we also have email on the next week.
All right, so they're picking up starter plants next Thursday, and then those that have already signed up to do that will be notified. Very great. Okay. Amanda, is Amanda here? I didn't see Amanda. I'll make a report for her. We, of course, we put all hands on deck for Blatant Gardens. And my name's not there, although I was there, but I didn't do any work. I just acted like I was supervising. Now, that morning, I had the pleasure of I taught the Sewell's class to the intern class. Went home, had lunch, got out to Blayton around 2:20, and Amanda and Helen Cronk were there, and were just ecstatic at the outpouring of support that they received. This may not be a complete list of master gardeners that went out there to assist, but she was very pleased and very thankful that people turned out to get the Blayton Gardens ready for the year. And pretty good stuff there. I saw Ken Caro was there. It was so much Ken's garden for many years. It's nice to see you're still out there, Ken. Yeah, well, I can relate to that too. Okay.
Good morning. Just briefly wanted to give you some feedback on the internal interest survey about continuing education. I know many of us dread surveys, and I appreciate all the members that took the time to fill out the survey. Nearly 30% of the membership responded, and that's fantastic as far as survey rates. And I think a lot of that hesitancy comes from the fact that you don't know what happens to the survey data. It goes into a black hole and you never know what people thought. So here it is really quickly. Like I said, really 30% responded. About 66 master gardeners responded. In response to overall satisfaction with the monthly educational programming, roughly 89% were either satisfied or very satisfied. And so we will work really hard to make the remaining percentage that was neutral satisfied as well. I know that's my goal, and we'll work really hard to get speakers that will do that. As far as, I can get the next up. Here we go. As far as your interests were concerned, we had a pretty varied amount of interest, actually. I think this response indicates that we enjoy a variety of programming. The top four were, as you can see, native plants. That includes trees, landscape design, vegetable gardening, and plant diseases. So a pretty mixed variety of responses. As far as the other down on the bottom, you see other interests. That's what was typed in for the interest master gardeners expressed, other than the topics that were listed. As you can see, there was a pretty significant interest in trees, shrubs, native species. And I just wanted to point out the insect and bees and growing tomatoes. If you're ever looking for specific topics, don't forget to check out our YouTube channel, excuse me. There are videos available on YouTube that highlight growing tomatoes, insects, and bees. So that was our interest level. As far as programming goes, so far this year, we've of course had Nathan Bronner, Gardening in Small Spaces, as well as edible landscaping, and that does speak to some of the interest that was expressed. And looking forward, next month is nutrient management in the landscape, and we are going to be very fortunate to have a presentation on native trees provided by Mr. Charles Gardner, yes. Along the lines of the VCE theme for the year of home food production, just ask some questions about what topics interested us most. And so that just gives you a brief summary of the interest: seed saving, small space gardening, which we did address in the first presentation this year, were indicated as major areas of interest. And then finally, I'll comment really briefly. Social media. Fewer than half of our master gardeners visit our social media monthly. and some don't at all. So that's nearly 50% of us that don't visit our social media. And I just want to be encouraging of individuals that don't visit, maybe to take a look occasionally. There's lots of good information, whether it be on the website, our Facebook, our Instagram, or YouTube channels, that could be useful to you. The social media does go to providing education to the community. And even though we may not use it as robustly as some of us could, the community does take advantage of it. And you can see on the right, views in the past 30 days. Our website gets a great deal of traffic. As Dave mentioned, there are wonderful blogs there, articles written by members. It's a great place to visit for info. Our Facebook, tremendous number of views, as well as our YouTube channel, 258 views. I mean, it's a great resource to us and the community. And if you have content you'd like to see that isn't there, please reach out to us if it's something that is missing, and if you'd visit more often. I know a number of us would work really hard to get that content there for you. So thank you for everyone that responded, and we will use the responses to inform the speakers that we seek out for the remainder of the year. Of course, we can't make promises, but we'll work really hard to try and get speakers that you're interested in. So thank you, Connie.
Thank you, Crystal. So we're surveying not just to do the exercise of surveying, but I hope you realize and appreciate, and if you don't, please talk to me. We're trying to take the results of that input that you're providing to us and implementing the things that you want. We're here to serve you, just like we as a group are here to serve the community. So please continue to interact. So a little housekeeping. I have Wayne come up and
Okay, apologize for the trying to get switched over to slides. My name is Wayne Koenig, and what I'm going to talk to you about this morning, real quick, is a new form that has been introduced to get reimbursements. Linda and I have been working on the old reimbursement form that everybody's familiar with, the one that was done back in 2021 that you had to fill in by paper. It was just a paper-based form that you filled in. But what we've done is gone in and we've updated it. We've made it into a new fillable form in PDF so that you can either mail it in or you can email it in through email. So the last form was, like I said, updated in 2021. This form just been recently tested by some master gardeners, and it's okay to go. So, I mean, what I'm going to do is just talk you through real quick how to fill it out and where to find the form. Okay, so previously the form was just one document, paper-based, but now you'll have 3 documents to look at. But basically, the 3 documents, one document is going to be just the instructions. It's a 4-page document. The first page is the policy on how to, why we have, how to do refunds or get reimbursed. The second page will be the instructions on how to fill out the forms. The third and fourth pages are just examples of the forms filled out properly. So you have something to look at, see how to do it correctly. And there'll be 2 additional documents, and these are the ones that you'll use primarily. One document is for member reimbursement only, and then the third document will be the vendor's advanced payment form. So instead of having one document that has both of them on it, you have to figure out which one you want to use. You just go ahead, and if you're doing reimbursement for member refunds, then you just use that document, print it out, or send it in. Any questions? Okay, so I'm just going to go through real quick and give a quick show on how to fill the form out and any questions that you may have. So the first part of it really is pretty simple, just your name, address, state. The only thing that we've added to it is we now will ask you to put into your email in. filling out the expenses pretty much like before, same thing, except now the blocks, the date, you need to put it into a month, day, year format, and it should only allow you to put it in that way. But it also has a drop-down calendar that hit on it, it'll drop down a calendar, and you can just punch it in that way. Example of the expense, or explain the expense, just a quick example of what the expense was. What project you worked on. In this case, it was the admin, but if it's for the brickyard, you'd put in the brickyard. The amount is already formatted into dollars and cents. You don't need to put a dollar sign into it. And also the total reimbursement box is auto-calculated. So don't worry about don't have to worry about adding it up. It's already done for you. And then we've also added a block that you can put additional information in if you need to add more information about the expenses. Any questions? I'll get to that in a second. We'll just talk about the forms right now. Both this one and the advanced forms are very similar. So, but again, all the instructions are in that page 2 on instructions. Now, if you wanted to donate part or all of your reimbursement to the association, you could do that by either clicking one of these 2 buttons and putting in the amount that you want to donate. Now, as far as signatures, the instructions will tell you how to do signatures if you're going to mail it in by postal or send it in by digital, by email. So if you're sending it in by email, you will need to just type your name in, type the date that you're sending it in, type in your approver, and leave the date blank because once your approver sends Linda verification that the expense was part of the program, then Linda will type in the date there. Okay. And last but not least, the admin section and how to print it out. So again, obviously the admin section is for Linda to put information in, but when you get done, you can either print it out, paper copy to mail in if that's what you want to do by postal, and there are instructions on how to mail it in, just like last time. Or if you hit save, you'll go ahead and save it to your device, to your computer or whatever, and then you'll be able to attach that to an email along with your receipts, and then send that to Linda. And the instructions are basically here on how to do email submissions. Just make the subject line JCCWMGA reimbursement and put your member name into it. And then so Linda know who's it's coming from. And then send it to treasurer@jccwmg.org. Again, make sure you include the form and your receipts. Now, as far as receipts, you can scan them, or Linda says you can just take a photo, picture of it with your phone and attach it to the email and send it in. Either way is fine. Any questions? So if you've got any questions, send an email to Linda at treasurer@jccwmg.org, and she'll take care of answering it for you. Now, I do want to highlight that while this has been tested out on most of the browsers that we have or that are available, and it will work with most browsers, but we've also found some that it just doesn't work. So if you have an issue with this not working with a particular browser or on your particular device, iPads are kind of tricky sometimes. Just download a copy of Adobe Reader, either through whatever Play program you have on your device or right on at this URL. Put that onto your device, and if you use Adobe Reader, it works just fine. So if you got issues with this working digitally, use Adobe Reader. All right. Now, the next question is, where do I find this? Obviously, you can find it on Better Impact, where we put everything. So if you go in, this is the Better Impact homepage. There's the file section right underneath the Facebook section. And if you look, there's the file section. One section is called Highlight, and you'll notice it will have their forms highlighted. the reimbursement form for the members, member reimbursement form, and also the policy and example form are highlighted. With it, you can just click on it and pull them up there. Or if you go to see all files, if you look under the forms folder, you'll be able to see all 3 forms and be able to download them there. Any questions? It's out there, so you can start using it. You need the presentation back up.
So
people can still do it the old fashioned way. Easier to do it by providing them
Let's get to the end of this. And we're going to skip Ann's presentation on practice. I remember the first time I stood next to one of those, I just couldn't believe how massive they were. They just didn't look that big on like, what was it, Tonto and the Lone Ranger, and they would ride through that area. But to stand next to one, they're massive. So we're going to skip that. I don't want Ann to be rushed through her presentation. And we'll go right to our finishing act, the crossword puzzle. I know you stayed here just long enough to do this. We are. We will. Oh, I'm sure it is. Ann did it, so it's got to be interesting. Good. All right. What's that? Oh, we did. That's a good catch. So we start at 3 o'clock. This year's Fearless Plant Sales Leader. Correct. At the end of the plant sale, we are. Well, let's see. Pretty close. A successful plant sale requires over 2,000 of these. Isn't that amazing? Thanks to Dot, this is how you let us know you are volunteering for the sale. Sign up genius. Wow. Last year's Fearless Plant Sale Leader. We haven't forgotten Mary. Did a great job. In addition to plants, we appreciate borrowing your garden carts. Can't have enough of these for the sale. Second letter's an E. That's ferns. Okay. Part of mine will be fern. I'll have some ferns in mine. Let's see. New policy. The plant sale is always the first weekend in. All right. You must be this to take on plant sale leadership. Let's see if Gary's right. No, Fearless. Our Fearless Plant Sale Leaders. And last, short for where we hold our annual plant sale. WBG. Thank you, everybody. Our meeting is now adjourned. Oh, one last thing I forgot to mention. I just wanted to mention that we live in contentious political times, more contentious, I think, than any other time in my life. And I do just want to remind people that when we're doing master gardening projects, we should not be engaging in any political activity. And so please be mindful of that is not permitted by VEC policy and also by association bylaws. So with that, our meeting is concluded, and thank you. Sorry I ran late.